All right, the last part of this is something that you've learned already, going between equations, tables, and graphs. On your notes, you have a linear equation, which is y equals 2x plus 3. And in this linear equation, we can find m and b, which is why we know it is linear. Y equals mx plus b. So underneath the equation on your notes, you can write this. This is m, this is b, and if you want to write it in English, you can say this. M is the number next to the, or multiplying by the variable. So here we have 2 multiplying by x, but you could have a lot of different types of m's. M could even be a fraction multiplying by x. And so suppose in a situation we had something like 5/4 x. 5/4 would be the m value. In this situation, it's 2. Now, what is b in English? B is the constant that's being added. So b is the constant that is being added. And for b, when I say constant, I mean it's a number that is not being multiplied by a variable. It is not affected by a variable. And so 3 is constantly 3, no matter what you plug in for x. It is constantly, you're only adding by 3, not 3 times something. Not, yeah. All right, the next thing is going to be a table. In your notes, you have a table that says x and y, and it gives the values 0, where x is 0, y is 3, where x is 1, y is 5, where x is 2, y is 7, where x is 3, y is 9. All right, so how do we find m and b? Maybe you recall from chapter 1, but b, or over here, which is your constant being added, b is always going to be the number across from where x equals 0. So wherever x equals 0, your y value for that coordinate pair is b. So as you can see over here, b is 3, and this is 3. So they agree. Why is it always across from where x equals 0? Because if you were to plug a 0 in for here, that 2 times x would be erased, and all you would be left with is 3. So then y would equal 3. Now, what is m? M is going to be your first difference. So going from 3 to 5 here, your first difference for the y column, I mean. So going from 3 to 5 here, the first difference between those two is it's plus 2. And the plus 2 is your m. So we have our b and our m value. This is our m value. Over here, you see that positive 2 is our m value. That is how you find m and b on the table. And in English, you would say this. M for a table is your first difference. M is your first difference And the B value, B is the Y value, Y value, where X is 0. Where X is 0, Y is 3, so the B value is 3. There you have it. Lastly, I'm going to turn my computer for this so that you have more space. The last one that we're going to deal with is the graph. The graph on your notes, I'm going to try to draw it approximately. The graph on your notes looks like this. It looks like it will start right about, or it'll hit that line right about there, and hit right about there, something like that. And it's the things that it's important to see. It's important to see where this line, the line that you're graphing, hits the coordinate, the intersections of all the smaller lines on the graph. So all the smaller lines that go across, up and down and across, all those, wherever they intersect, wherever they hit a point, if this line hits that point, that's a significant point that you should know about. And so like right here, where X is 0, where the X axis is 0, and the Y axis is, it looks like 3, that is a significant point. 0, 3. Another significant point might be, it looks like there's another intersection right up here, which is at the point 1, 1, 5. All right, so here's your graph, and we want to know what M and B are. And so I want you to maybe look between the equation, the table, and the graph and start to see some similarities. For example, one similarity that you might see is that there's this reoccurring point, 0, 3. 0, 3 right here, 0, 3 right here. That is a very significant point because our B value is the value of whatever point hits the y-axis on this line. So if wherever this line intercepts the y-axis, that is our B value. So this right here, that is our B. And what we look for when we see our B or our y-intercept is the y value right there. And that is 3. So as I said, I will repeat, B is the y-intercept, wherever your line hits the y-axis. Okay. Now for M, and this gets a bit more complicated. I hope that you can see the board clearly enough. M is for every 1 you go over, just like on this table, for every 1 that you go up on the table, for every 1 you go over on the x-axis, how many y values do you go up? So for every 1 I go over here, how far do I go up? So if I go over 1, I go up 2. So right here, that is about 2 spaces upwards. So 2, that's our M value. So we've got our B, we've got our M. The M value over here was our first difference. And similarly, the first difference is now the height that you go upwards for every 1 you go over. So that is your M. And on your notes, to make this simpler, let me write out exactly what you should say to make sense of this. M is how far up for every 1 over. And your B value, B, is your y-intercept, or the y value where your equation hits the y-axis.